Welcome back. Ravi's been gone so long. I'm not sure if he's real or if he's a figment of our imagination. Let's just get started with this week's episode. We'll see how it goes. Hey, Ravi. Welcome back.
Hey guys. Hello.
All right. So
and you never know, I may be just a product of the matrix.
A product of the matrix.
Yeah.
You might really be a figment of our collective imagination.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there is this concept called Indra's net.
Okay.
I don't know if you have heard about it.
No.
Indra's net is something in Hindu and Buddhist philosophy where this net is composed of it's like a net with diamonds in the what do you call those points where the net intersection points, and those are supposed to be souls, right? And each soul is reflecting on all the other souls.
They're all interconnected.
Everybody is interconnected and not so it's like you can see your reflection on me, this intersection point. So if you're that, you're reflecting, I'm reflecting on you, and everybody's reflecting on each other. Nice. Something like that. Maybe we can make Indra's net or a visualization of that.
Something like that.
Something like that. Maybe we can try. Okay. Very good. Good to be back, RK. I see that you've been doing great stuff while I'm missing. A part of me says maybe if I continue to be missing, you'll do great stuff. But I'm back. Can't help it. Yeah. So great to be back. So what do we have this week?
So today's episode, I was actually inspired by one of our viewers, Narendra.
Okay.
And he sent this beautiful email. And he also mentioned that he's currently reading a book called Chaos by James Gleick. And it generally speaks about chaos and things like that. And as soon as he said chaos, I was sort of reminded of the Lorenz Attractor that sort of arises out of chaos theory, the theory of chaos and all of those things. Okay. Now, without going too much into this, the Wikipedia article itself, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard about this butterfly effect.
Right.
So the butterfly effect is, it states that the weather systems and weather events are actually so chaotic, or they are so dependent on some initial conditions that the flap of a butterfly somewhere in South Africa, in South America, can cause storms a few years later in the US, in North America and all of those things. Okay. So that's what he wanted to say. But it doesn't actually mean that, butterflies cause typhoons or hurricanes or whatever. But it's one of the observations that this physicist, the scientist Edward Lorenz made when he was actually modeling weathering systems, weather systems that could predict weather. Right. And the thing is, he was so he could feed this simulation system some initial conditions. And you would expect that it would result in something saying that in a few weeks time you would have rain here or storm here or hurricanes here and there, but it would never be the same. If he changed the initial conditions by even the most slightest manner, then it would have a huge repercussions a few weeks down the line in the simulation. Alright? And I think so he sort of backtraced it and saying that these prediction of weather is so dependent on its initial conditions. It's almost as if saying that if this was in the real world, a hurricane in North America is dependent on the butterfly flapping its wings somewhere in South America many years before. So that's what this whole thing was about, this whole Lorentz system, and was about. One of the things that came out of this Lorentz system is a set of very simple equations that you can actually code into any programming language, and it can create these beautiful shapes. One of these things is this, right? So let me just expand the screen over here, okay, just a little bit so that we all can read what's on the screen. I'm not going to read everything about the Lorenz Attractor. But over here is like a nice shape that is created, or a nice thing that you can create with just 3 variables. These are like Greek variables. I think this is supposed to be rho, sigma, and beta, but I'm just going to call them A, B, and C because, right? Yeah. So when given these initial conditions, and when I start putting these into these equations over here,
right?
All right. So these very simple equations, I put them into. Right. It will start to create this shape all by itself.
Right.
That's all we wanted to do sort of today. All right. So there are many initial conditions that you can put in. So that was one condition that we saw. Another condition was, where A is 14, B is 10, and beta is 8 by 3. You can different shapes are created out of different initial conditions.
Correct.
And how you change these conditions determines what the initial condition would be. So, but the main thing about this entire exercise are these very 3 simple equations that you can execute, and this essentially creates the thing that we've been looking for. All right. So to start us off, as per usual, I have a canvas which is 800 by 800. I have a canvas, and then I have a JavaScript file where I have an init file. I initialize the context. Then I have a function called Lorentz that essentially is supposed to be my loop, my main loop, where everything is going to be executed or drawn on. All right. So let's start with this one. Let's start with these 3 variables. This is, like I said before, this is supposed to be, I think, rho, sigma, and beta. These are the Greek variables, but I'm just going to call them A, B, and C. Right. I can call them rho and sigma and whatever. But I'm just going to call them. A is 28, I think. Yeah. B is 10, and then I have C, which is 8 by 3. So I'm just going to say 8.0 by 3.0. All right. This is 8 by 3 would itself resolve to a float, but I'm just essentially ensuring that this is a float. I know it's a Java thing, it's a Java or Python thing, but I just want to ensure that. All right, so I have these initial conditions. I also need to essentially have X and Y variables because ultimately these are going to be displayed on the screen. So I'm just going to say variable. I'm just going to have 3 variables, X, Y, and Z. For now, let's initialize them to 0. All right. And if you look at the equation, you will see that it's actually dx by dt. This is basically a calculus thing, right, where you're trying to find out you're trying to find out the values of these equations in discrete time. All right. And what is that slice of time? So I'm just going to have a variable called dt, and I'll just say this is 0.01. So basically these equations are going to be done at a discrete time interval of 0.01 whatever request animation frame takes, right? So that's the slice of time that I want this to be calculated on. So I have these 3 variables. I have a dt and dx and everything. And what else? Yeah, nothing, man. I can just go ahead and start calculating this. So all right. So I'm just going to say so this is dx, dy, and then you have dz. So I'm just going to say where dx is equal to, this is a of y minus x. So that's a into y minus x. So this is dy, right? No, y is once again over there. Y minus x. Okay. So that's a which is supposed to be this minus y minus x, correct? Let dy is equal to, it's the same. Hold on. This it needs to be multiplied by dt, right? Because dt is like a denominator here. When it goes over here, it needs to be multiplied by dt. So I have that multiplied by dt. Dy is once again x into, what is this supposed to be? Is that
that is a, maybe that is the
a maybe? Okay, yeah, that's a. That's a actually.
Right.
So that's x, which is x into a minus z. So that's a minus z minus y, and this whole thing needs to be multiplied by dt. Correct. So I'll just put like nice brackets over here so that we have the ordering of the variables. I have dz, which is supposed to be xy minus, so this is just xy, x into y minus beta, which is, I think, the last one, c. C into z, and this whole thing needs to be multiplied by dt, right? So just to ensure that I have the ordering of variables correct, so I have this. So I now have these three variables, or essentially I have represented what the equations over here. I'm going to add these dx and dz values into these x values. All right, so x plus is equal to dx, y plus is equal to dy, and z plus is equal to dz. All right, now here is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to say, let's plot this x and y onto the screen itself. See what comes out. All right. So that's my L context dot begin path, L context dot arc. I'm just going to draw a circle over there and see if it comes out. All right. So that will be an arc. Oh, I forgot already how to do the arc function. So arc is x comma and y. Radius, for now I'm just going to say that the radius is 4. Start angle is 0. End angle is math by pi, pi into 2, and because I don't want to be like, constantly calculating this, I have declared a constant called constant.py. I think when you were not here, or at least you would have seen it on our videos. So what we did was we just introduced a constants file. Nice. Just so that I don't have to calculate this match.py over and over again. Because remember, for every request animation, this gets executed. So you don't want to be calculating pi into 2, even though it's a simple calculation. You don't want to do it over and over again. And then this, I can just leave it at true. I mean, that's either, and then I can say L context dot fill. All right. This is possibly going to be black in color, but let's see what comes out of this, right? Let's see. Constant, it's actually constants. I'm sorry about that. And then what? So there you go. So it's over there essentially. All right. So it doesn't move. That's because these x and y values are not the same as, they are not mapped to width and height. Our width and height is 800 by 800. So I'm just going to map these x and y values into something that can be mapped onto the screen. So I'm just going to create two variables called x map, or which basically represents mapped. Map the value x to a value from minus 30 to 30 to 0 comma width. All right, and the same goes for y as well. Map the value y to a value between minus 30 and 30. However, this is height. And then I'll replace these with x map and y map. Okay. And hopefully now it should be in the center. Yeah, I mean, of course it is in the center, but nothing basically happens. And the reason for that is this x or this y doesn't have like an initial value. So I'm just going to start them off with an initial value of 0.01. And when I do that, you will see that, it starts to sort of at least start to make a shape over here. Okay. So it doesn't actually come back. Maybe the value is something else. Or I just want to make sure that I have this equation
that
correct.
A is not A because you changed it, remember?
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, yeah. This is actually sigma, which is the second value. I think that's B. Right. So this is supposed to be B. Good eye, man. Good eye. I would have never figured this out. All right. Let's see now.
Okay. Still no change.
Still. Yeah. So something we still have to correct.
So one thing I can see already in the code.
Yeah. So that's x into p minus. This is definitely a. This is definitely a. Yeah. So it's a minus z. This is minus y. Yeah, which is correct, right?
Correct.
And then x y minus b z. Yeah.
So that is z plus equals. That is one. So that it's not changing.
Yeah. So over here it would have not changed. I mean, it has an effect over here also, right? It would have never changed.
Z.
So that was just a statement and it wasn't doing anything. So hopefully this should fix it. So that should essentially start to create the shape that was being described over here.
Oh,
all right.
okay.
So there are so over here, at least on the Wikipedia page, they have like sort of done a 3-dimensional thing.
Correct.
We've not yet done 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional transformations yet, but so we sort of have to be satisfied with with what we are seeing. Of course, we can like make improvements to this, and we will. But I just wanted to make sure that we get the shape right. We already see the shape right, before we proceed with improving this essentially. First things first, let's paint the background black because I like black, and mainly because I think the other simulations over here on the wiki page itself have different have like a black background and then they have the hue and everything going on over here. So let's do that, right?
Sure.
So Lorentz, I just have to paint it black first, right? Okay. So I can say L context dot begin path, L context dot rectangle 0, 0, width, height, and L context dot fill. So this will fill, not yet. So I can say L context dot fill style hash 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that's black, and then let's draw this. Let's say white, for example, for now.
But do we need to put it inside Lorentz, or can we do it like once and leave it?
Once and then leave it. Basically, you want the trace to be done, right? You want to, it needs to trace.
Redraw.
It needs to, So when it redraws, it needs to do a trace.
Oh, okay.
And the trace should not be removed. Right? It should just basically just be there.
Right.
And I think we'll have to sort of rethink this whole begin path and then drawing
we can do it
black rectangle. Okay. All right. I think I know what to do. We'll borrow an idea from last week's. No, I think last week's episode where we draw one canvas on top of another canvas.
Oh.
So let's do that. All right. So I have this canvas initialized over here. I have the width and the height. I'm going to create another canvas over here, and I'm going to call it back canvas. All right.
Wow.
That will be my background canvas.
Oh.
Say variable background canvas, and I'm also going to declare a variable called as the back context because this background canvas is going to have its own context.
We can't just do it once and leave it, is it? For the canvas, just black?
So you can, okay, yes you can just leave it once and then you can do it, but then so you saw how this looks like, right? What this looks like.
Correct.
You see these gaps over here?
Yes.
These need to be filled with lines. And if I was to draw like lines over them, maybe I can.
Okay, we'll do it this way first.
We'll do it this way first. I'll tell you now that this will be like a remarkable improvement over what we've been doing.
Okay.
We don't have to muck around with this, clearing the canvas and everything.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
Yeah. And we'll also learn a thing or two today. So say back canvas is equal to, so document, come on. I think it's called create element, and then you can say create a canvas. So this is like a nice hidden canvas, and I can say back canvas dot width is equal to whatever width dot height is equal to whatever height, and over here you can so let's initialize the context also. So back context is equal to back canvas dot get context. All right, so now I have both ready, and you said you wanted it black, right? So I can now say back context dot begin path back context dot right 0, 0, width, height back context dot fill, and of course it needs to be black, so I'm going to say fill style is equal to hash 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. All right. So now I have, for all intents and purposes, this back canvas itself is an image. All right. So I can just draw an image over here on the Lorentz context itself. I can just say, what is that? Draw image, right? So draw image at this location on the screen. So that should be right now. It should just be black.
Correct.
Yeah, and then of course, what is that? Begin path of Lorentz at line 54. Okay, that's fine. So anyway, so right now it's just black on black. Correct. I'm going to make our this thing as white. Correct. So I'll just say fill style is equal to #ff. So that's like a white dot that I have that will like sort of move, and you will see that all we've done through all of this coding is just reversal of the colors. It's not much, but now I'll like start drawing a line wherever this thing is moving. Is moving. All right. And how do I draw a line? A line basically requires two sets of variables, x, a current xy and a previous xy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, so let me declare 4 variables. So you see how we are doing this x map and y map. So I also need like a previous x and previous y. So I'm just going to declare those. Say previous x and previous y. That's it. I'm just going to declare that. The very first time this comes in, I'm going to say previous x and previous y are the same values as whatever x map and y map are. So when I initialize them, I'll just initialize them with the same previous values. All right. Previous x is equal to this one, and previous y is equal to this one. All right. Over here, I'll start drawing the line, but this line is getting drawn on the back context. So I can now say back context dot begin path back context dot move to x map comma y map. Oh, come on. And back context dot line to previous x and previous y. All right. And then I can say back context dot stroke. So that will basically draw a line from the previous to the next. And just before I call the request animation frame, I'll say previous x is equal to the current value of x map and previous y is equal to y map. All right, so now I have this. So I should start seeing a line. All right, so before we proceed, I just need to set the fill style once over here, right? So I'll just do it in the initializing, right? For that dot to be drawn, I'll just make sure that's initialized only once, so that I don't have to do it over and over again. And then I have the begin path and everything. This stroke needs to be a specific color. Let me initialize this. For now, I can say back context dot stroke style is equal to hash. For now, I'll just make it red. All right. Now let's see if that works. So there you go. So now not only do we have like a line,
right?
You will also see that this dot doesn't erase the background red, right? Because we are drawing it on top. You'll see that it doesn't actually erase it.
Correct.
So that this effect can only be achieved
by the
by this one.
Back canvas.
Yeah, by the back canvas. All right, where the foreground drawing doesn't erase anything in the background drawing. So this can only be achieved with that. And you also don't have to worry about holding the previous values of all of these values, right? So now we have that. Let's improve on that by including our very favorite function, the hue function.
Okay.
All right. Very fortunately, I discovered that we were doing those hue to RGB calculations. You don't have to do that. The canvas comes with something called as HSL, which is basically hue, saturation, lightness. And instead of RGB, you can just use HSL.
Right.
All right. So we'll for this, we'll just create a value over here called hue, and hue will just initialize it as 1. All right. Hue value is from 0 to 360. So I'm going to call it 0 to 360.
Right.
In our hue to RGB, it's actually a value between 0 and 1. No, I think 0 to pi. But in this case, it's just 0 to 1. Sorry, 0 to 360. All right. So I have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say pack context dot stroke style. Yeah, you're right. Stroke style is equal to HSL, which is hue, saturation, lightness, followed by our hue, comma 100% saturation, 50% lightness. We can increase the lightness if you want, but you will see that it looks a little bit not too good. So anyways, I have this hue, saturation, lightness. I have the stroke style. All I have to do is say hue plus plus, all right, which will basically increment. I mean, typically you would think that once hue reaches 360, you need to cycle it, set it back to 0. But I have found in my own testing that this is actually not true. It's just a value between 0 and 360, and it's like, what do you say? I mean, it needs to be divisible by 360. So once it goes the other way, it'll just restart from 0. Internally, it just considers every value between. So it's always values between 0 and 360.
Yeah.
So after 361, it's still treated as 1.
Right.
Yeah. So that's that. So let's see how that works. And you'll see that it creates these very beautiful patterns. And now you have a whole new pattern. I mean, a very beautiful thing happening, right? Right. One more improvement. Can we make this line a little bit thicker? I think that would definitely help, right?
Okay.
At least if people are watching this on the mobile, if they can. I forget if it is line weight or line width or line weight. I'll have to look it up again. I'm sorry. I think that was JavaScript Canvas cheat sheet. It is line width. Alright, so I'm going to make the line width as 2. Say pat context dot line width is equal to 2.0, right? See if that works. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. So that's the Lorenz system. I mean, that's the Lorenz Attractor, or one of the things that comes out of the Lorenz system. So that's the Lorenz Attractor animation. Alright, or this is one of the shapes that comes out of the Lorenz Attractor. And of course, now we can like change the initial values and see if that creates a new shape altogether.
Correct.
So let's go for 14, 10 and 8 by 3, which means all we have to change, the only value we'll have to change is 14.
Yeah.
So we got that, and let's see how that works. It should create a totally new shape. So there you go. It is a new shape.
Yeah.
It's a different shape and it's a different animation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, this
And it
is
goes
nice.
on and on and on for a very long time, just like how this one appears, right? So
let's see.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so what we are saying is this is the chaos theory in a visual form.
In a visual form.
Okay.
Right? Any change to the initial conditions starts to create.
Okay. I'm very curious to see if this dot is going to jump to the other side or not.
I mean, I actually have never been patient enough to sit through this whole thing, but it does seem to get stuck in the middle over there. It goes through to smaller and smaller spirals until it just sort of settles over there. It never sort of expands out of that. Okay. But let's try a new one over here. So that's 13.
So just 10. One small, 13.
13.
So, let's see if that makes a totally different thing or not.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too different.
That's not too different because we just changed very little of it. But you'll see that the spiral is now at least a little bit different shape.
This absolutely.
One. Yeah. This is 28. This is the regular one that we've been seeing. This is 15. This is 15. What are these? Yeah, I mean they just seem to like sort of show the same. So this is all different. This thing. So one thing that you can actually change is let's say the time tick, right? I mean how I was saying that. So if I was to make this 0.1, this would make like.
Whoa!
This will just go away because at that time. Wow. I mean. Believe it or not, it's actually creating that shape, but it's just that it's so big, it looks like that. So if you do have like larger time ticks, then you'll have to change your map function so that it can still fit within the width. So you can like do that, or you can make this even smaller and see how. Now it will be of course very very slow because now you're looking at very small, but you will see an effect over here. Let me just change this back to 28 where is that? Back to 28. And yeah, so you will see that it has actually started to do that, but it's it's basically the same thing, but it's actually very slow. Right. Yeah. So yeah, so if I did that, this is once again resetting it back to 28.
But why aren't we trying changing B, beta and
B
and C?
Sure, we can do that. Yeah, of course we can do that. Let's do that. Let me change the time tick back to this one.
This is better.
Let's say I make this 15.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, that is.
It's a similar shape, but in a slightly magnified way. What about the 8x3? What can we change that?
Sure.
To say 15 by 8 or something.
Okay.
I think we need some like a fraction which is.
Yeah.
And what about a negative fraction? We should see whether I want to see if that first line itself goes in a certain separate direction.
Okay, maybe we change all three, right?
Or what about negative? Can we try this C to be negative?
Okay.
Whoa! No, maybe not. Right.
Yeah. Maybe we leave it at 8 by -3 and see what happens.
Okay. Thing still goes out. Yeah.
So something different happens.
Yeah, that's not can't be negative.
What if I make this 2? Ooh. That's different.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Still sort of settling down into
that butterfly shape.
Correct.
Overall.
Correct. Yeah.
Into that butterfly shape overall. Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
These also remind me of sand dunes. I don't know why.
Sand dunes?
These dune shapes. I wonder what is.
Interesting. This is one of those. Have you heard of? Oh man, I'm looking for that word. Rorschach tests.
Right.
Have you heard of those?
Yeah.
So this is one of those Rorschach tests, maybe. So you see sand dunes over here.
Yeah.
And Edward Lorenz saw butterflies.
Yeah. But I think the butterfly was when they made it in the XZ axis.
Yeah. When they rotated it in the X or in a different axis.
Correct.
That's when you can clearly see a butterfly.
Yeah. This is somewhat like what we are seeing.
Yeah.
And when he twist it into the
so
XZ plane.
Yes,
is what we can see.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What happens if we map the X and can we map instead of Y map? Can we? Does that make sense?
The thing is, this Z variable is for all intents and purposes for a 2-dimensional thing is not useful at all. If we were like plotting this in 3 dimensions, which we will do someday, I think we would see a different thing altogether. We will do someday. I mean, there is a way to transform 2 dimensions into 3. Okay, first things first. You'll have to remember that this canvas.element
is a 2D.
Is 2D.
Correct.
It is possible to do, I think, 3D as well.
Okay.
But I'm not very proficient at 3D
yet.
3D yet.
Yes.
So I sort of have to learn how 2Ds or how 2D gets projected. A 3D gets projected on a 2D surface.
Correct.
I'll have to understand that, and then I'm ready to move on to the 3 dimensions.
Correct.
Yeah, but we will someday.
Sure.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah. So let's just So I just want to sort of leave it at that.
Yes,
I think this is a nice, good place to end the episode, I guess.
Yeah. This is a nice image also.
Yeah, nice image to leave it on.
Very nice.
So that was the Lorenz Attractor for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this. Do tell your friends. That's all we had for this week. Hit the subscribe button. Leave
and check out the code on
and check out the code also. We upload all of the code that we've typed so far. Everything is available open on GitHub. A lot of a couple of our viewers have suggested or have found bugs in our code, and they have suggested improvements and all of those things that were incorporated in GitHub. We really welcome such kind of involvement.
Use the code and show us different attractors, give different values
exactly.
and try it out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yes, so that's that. Thank you so much for joining in, and we'll see you again next week.
Ciao.